Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting. Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Do we have any additions or corrections to those minutes? Seeing here none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bills with additional bills sitting on the desk. Law enforcement center billing as well as some additional bills from us.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion and a second to approve paying the bills. Questions or further discussion?
There's one on the highway list we'll deal with later.
Okay, very good.
One note on the law enforcement center, I think we should make that public. The chairs,
Yeah.
that part of the jail bill, 52.5.
Is that simply, is that a 1 month thing or is it something that's going forward?
No, that was over since COVID started.
So was this for state prisoners that were sitting there because they weren't bringing them in Cisco, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I remember. All right. That's good. That helps. Okay. Further discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Britt,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Lightfoot.
Aye. Motion carries. Financial reports. Anything withstanding? Yeah, looked like everything was pretty good.
No, everything is pretty good.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the financial reports. Further discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Oh, we forget roll call that time. I always forget because one place we do it, one place we don't.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't do.
No, you're fine. That's good. I was the one that myself.
Britt,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Lightfoot.
Aye. Motion carries. Approval of agenda. Anything to add or amend?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries and the agenda is approved. Okay. Good morning, Sarah. You're up first.
Good morning. So I just have a couple things with Ramsey County Extension. In the 4-H world, we were pretty disappointed we weren't able to do a face-to-face little project day. We usually do one in the fall. And so we kind of put our heads together and we're doing a virtual mystery project day. We thought maybe we'll get about 20 kids to sign up and it'll be all good. We're up to 77 kids. So we are busy in our office trying to get these kits ready for the kids. And so they'll complete the kits at home, and then we've been recording videos that we're going to send home with them as well, with voiced over on how to actually do the project. So we're utilizing a lot of the equipment that we've been getting through the CARES Act dollars through NDSU, which has been great. So so 4-H, we're a lot of our clubs are doing virtual meetings over Zoom. Maybe they'll have a small group meeting in person, and then some families will Zoom in, let's say if they're in quarantine or whatever, but we're making it work. So so that's a good thing with 4-H. We also decided the last few years we've had a very successful outdoor winter arrangement workshop. We decided to, we haven't been hot about that as well. We're doing that one virtual as well. Great interest in that. We've got 30 people signed up. We've got enough kits for 50. So, and we just put that out last Friday. So that is actually almost full. So we're going to kind of do the same thing. People will pick up kits and we'll do a video on how you complete the project, and then people can zoom in and ask questions on a later date. And then finally, I know Bill was here last time and was very sad to announce that we decided not to have extension roundup. So after a lot of discussion, we we are actually excited to say we are having Roundup, only virtually. So we are, our egg agents have been really busy getting some really interesting and speakers. I guess when you go virtual, you know, you don't have to pay for travel. So they're getting some really amazing speakers, and obviously a lot of our local speakers here, as well as from our specialists from NDSU. So be looking for more information on Extension Roundup. Unfortunately, there won't be any good food to go with it, but that will still be happening, and they're finding a way to so those that have needed to get their continuing education credits, they'll still be able to get those as well. So Bill said they'll have more information and an agenda for Roundup next month. So it'll still happen right around that the first weekend of January. We'll have some taped speakers, and then we'll have 1 day of a live Roundup virtually. So that's what's going on in the extension world. Do you have any questions for us?
Questions? Okay, thank you, sir, fantastic. Okay, we're going to talk about beer liquor license with Carla Grossman. You're up.
Hello.
We have documentation in our packets with the applications, I believe. Gary's floating head is back there on the television screen. Hi, Gary.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, clear, nice and clear.
Good.
Can you hear us? Maybe not.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, very good. I know in the past we had looked at lease documentation for this liquor license. Is that something we're looking at again, or?
I believe Ms. Grossman provided lease documentation that should be in the packets.
I didn't see it.
Everything looks in order, Carrie?
I didn't see anything left on the application that needed to be filled out, so it would just be up to the commission at this point.
Good. Good old file, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Look, we see it right there. Okay. Should provide it. Okay. Very good. I guess anything you would like to mention, or anything the commission would like to state about the concerns, comments?
I guess I had talked to Gary and said that everything was in line, and so I go ahead and make a motion to approve the beer and liquor license.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the beer and liquor license for Wally's Roadhouse. Wally's Roadhouse, excuse me. Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There you go. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Ms. Grossman.
Kevin, you are up, sir. Morning.
Start off with an update on that culvert on Ramsey County 8 by David Lorenz. We did get that installed on Tuesday, so that project is done. Of course, we'll have to put asphalt back in there. It'll be gravel over the winter. But turned out pretty good. And also along with that, we did get the bill for that, for True North Steel. Originally it was going to be made in here, and so there was like a little over $2,000 worth of freight. But they did make it in Fargo, so we saved that $2,000 in freight. So the total bill for True North Steel this month, well, we had some flat gates and other stuff too, but the total is $16,721.74. I guess I'd like a motion to pay for that.
Move to approve.
6 to 1 pick 'em.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the billing, the payment of True True North Steel, $16,721.74 for culverts and miscellaneous. Further discussion on the motion today? Seeing none, roll call please.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Frith,
Aye.
Lightcon.
Aye. Motion carries.
All right, next, the load pass, after all the discussion and motion we've had on that, they made a motion to go ahead and change their software, permitting software, so now they will be able to sell wintertime permits for $50 for the whole 3 months. It'll just be an option, which county you're in, to pick on the software.
Look at that.
They had a board meeting and came up at the board meeting, and they made a motion to go ahead and do it, so.
Did we have some new technology float in or what?
I think they just heard us complain that we're looking for it, and they made an adjustment, which is good.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's good to look with.
So we don't need any action, I just a heads up after all the talk we had about it. And also, John Deere is asking if we want to rent tractors again next summer. And I guess they're getting ready to order them, so we get them in time. And North Dakota Association of Counties has set up the contract, so it's exactly the same as it was last year. So I guess I look for a motion to rent 2 tractors next summer, again, for mowing ditches.
One question, they didn't put this up for bid?
They did, NACO did it, we did, but NACO did it for the whole state.
They did.
Yeah, so they don't necessarily touch the locals, but they touch the headquarters.
So we're covered.
Yeah, we're covered. I mean, yeah. And what, honestly, when I do talk to the guys around town here, Case and Butler does the same, they have tractors out there, they can't even compete with this price.
I'll make,
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve rent of tractors from John Deere again next year. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That's all I have.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna be out of here. Very good. Any questions for Kevin? Okay, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Okay, down to unfinished business. COVID-19 discussion. 2 different things, well, more than 2 things, but 2 different areas to talk about in this. From an operational standpoint, we've had a lot of different, I wouldn't say issues, but ongoing things where we have somebody having to quarantine because of a close contact and positive, or isolated because of a positive, things of that nature. So we have had some continuity issues when it comes to operations. Overall, I think everyone's handling it pretty well, but just so you know, those are issues that are ongoing. It's not specific to us. It's happening in all realms of every place around the community. And the guidelines are if you are at close contact, you have to quarantine 14 days from that close contact, because that's the latency period possibly for the virus to spread. So, and then if you're positive, you have to isolate 10 days from symptoms beginning, because that's when your viral load is high enough to transfer that virus. So it turns into, you know, quite a long time if you have close contact quarantining. So actually, one of my friends on Facebook in Grand Forks, she and her family are on their 4th time quarantining already. So think about that. That's 2 months of their life they've had to quarantine because of close contacts. So, and I don't know if anyone has gotten sick, but not a good situation. But it's what we have to do to try to slow it down, because the thing is really, really pushing. So it's just something we're gonna have to continue to deal with as a county. Excuse me, visiting with Crystal and Chris the other day, one thing we wanted to reiterate, and it's something that's been standing as a county policy since this began, is that telecommuting for our departments is obviously still an option. We've got all the VPNs set up. You know, try to attempt to get people out of the building, or at least we can split if we can, you know, our workload, our staffing so that we can get people out of the building, because if we get people out of the building in their home, we will have less chances of people having close contact type things, and less chances we're gonna have to quarantine and things of that nature. So just to reiterate to all the department heads, excuse me, and they're gonna push it out in an email and I think we're gonna have a department head meeting following this tomorrow or day after, something like that. Day after will be Saturday, but following this meeting. To discuss that, to just reiterate that if any departments would like to, avail themselves of that telecommuting, just to remember that that's still an option for those that can't go home and work, so we can get people out of the building. Social services has been dealing with a ton of quarantines and isolations as well, so it's kind of just the mark of the times, and it's just something we're going to have to deal with as we go forward. And operationally, we're going to have to expect some hiccups here and there, but overall, I think everything's been getting done fairly well. It's just, we have to deal with it. I don't know if it falls under COVID-19 discussion, but since I'm thinking about it, just a big thank you to everyone that helped staff the polls on Tuesday, and Candy and Nathan and her staff, Jackie. I heard nothing but good things about how it went smoothly. We took in, about 4,000 votes previous to election day?
4,080.
4,080 out of 53 something. So those extended hours, we caught probably 300 people or plus in that range that came and voted early with those extended hours, in addition to the mail-in ballots. And everything went really smoothly. The setup down there was really good, and it was impressive. So a big thank you to Candy and everybody else that she directed in getting that election to run smoothly. And as usual, or at least as long as I've been around and have watched, we're always one of the first places that reports. And we report accurately every year, and we report quickly, and that means that the job is being done well, so a big thank you. From there, I would turn our attention to, just for reference information purposes, I'm not saying this is something we're going to do or not going to do, but I wanted to have the discussion at the commission level and allow for all of the information that I have derived from individuals to sit in front of everybody so we can have the discussion. I'm sure everybody knows that the city of Devils Lake on the 27th, I don't remember, last Monday, enacted a mask mandate for inside city limits in Devils Lake. It passed unanimously at the Devils Lake City Commission meeting, and that was following a meeting that the college put together on the 23rd of October. I was a portion of that meeting, as well as Jeff was able to attend in person. I did it virtually, and we had a decent, not a lot of people there obviously because of the situation, but the response was we should put together some type of a plan for the community, that we can actively talk to people about what will mitigate this so we don't get to that critical level. Because once we get to the critical level, the decision making no longer is going to be in our hands. It will be in the governor's hands, and we're going to be looking at closures and things like that. We don't want that, obviously. We want our schools to stay open, we want our businesses to stay open. We were moved from the yellow level to the orange level, which is high, right below that critical level. So, since that meeting, the city of Devils Lake had a discussion, enacted a mask mandate for the city of Devils Lake without penalties. We have what's called I can't remember the term perfectly, but a community COVID committee that has a cross-section of healthcare professionals, leadership from the park board, the school board, the county commission, the city commission, the college, local business owners, as well as chamber executive, tourism, I think is kind of loosely in there as well, to just keep the information flowing between the different entities about what's going on, what they're doing, coming up with a plan on how can we talk to people about, the importance of making sure we tamp this thing down so we don't get to that next level, so we can continue to make our decisions locally, basically, is what it comes down to, and we can keep our schools open, we can keep our businesses open. They've come up with some really good ideas. There's PSAs out there talking about, social distancing, things of that nature. We've all heard that 1,000 times. Don't go where you don't need to go, do the business you need to do, keep your social circles small, wash hands, sanitize, and wear a mask. I mean, it's been pretty much beaten into us since March that that's kind of what we need to do. There's also, they're going to do some interesting things with, they're doing a button. So people that can't wear masks because of PTSD issues or maybe other medical issues can wear a button that says, I can't wear a mask, so nobody will give them, will hassle them when they're out and about, which is, I think, a fantastic idea. So people with medical issues will not have to be questioned constantly, why aren't you wearing a mask if people are being nosy, essentially. And then they're also going to do positive reinforcement of the possibility of mask wearing by different organizations within the community have donated money, and then they put together packs with $5 chamber bucks that can be spent anywhere in Devil's Lake. And if you see somebody doing a positive thing to help, whether it's social distancing, masking, washing hands, whatever it might be, those different businesses are going to be able to hand those out as kind of a thank you for helping keep the community open. So I think that's kind of a neat way to approach it. It's not, it's contributive, it's positive. So I think that's a good thing. A lot of good ideas have been coming out of this committee. None from me. I've just been sitting there listening, and I think it's a positive thing to rally as a community around something and to try to take this into our own hands instead of taking it out of our hands, basically. So up to this point, it's been positive. We're meeting once weekly, basically, at this point, and I think anybody that wants to be on the calls, but I was asked, Jeff was asked, but anybody else, if they'd like to, I'm sure can watch, because it's just kind of an open concept of what can we do as a community to make sure we don't get to that red level and those decisions aren't ours anymore. So, free-flowing conversation-wise, we have received a couple of different requests from Lake Region District Health Unit, formally asked that we should put a mask mandate on for the county-wide. As well as Lake Region State College, following the meeting, sent a letter saying that they would like to see us possibly look at a mask mandate for countywide. I never received the letter from the healthcare providers, but I'm assuming it still stands. They asked the community as a whole, not specifically a commission, but they did give it to the commission, the city commission. All the healthcare providers in Devil's Lake, the primary care providers, signed a letter asking for a mask mandate, all 25 of them. So I'm not saying that we do or don't do, I'm just bringing the information to everybody so we can at least have the discussion. I asked Carrie to look into it for us, see what we could and what we could not do, if we chose to do anything or nothing. And there is a draft mandate in front of you. Coming from Gary, as she put it together. Also, the City of Devil's Lake's language is in front of me. The draft mask mandate, I would assume, Carrie, it looked very similar to the one I saw from Steele County, correct?
Yeah, it's a standard template that everyone's using and then tweaking to their individual needs if they choose to do a resolution or a policy mandate.
Okay. I can't keep track of all the cities and counties up to this point, but all of the larger cities in the state, Fargo, Minot, Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Rugby, West Fargo, most places now have some type of a mandate, most of them without any kind of enforcement policy mandate, but just to show that we think it's important. County-wise, I know Steele County has now put a mandate on. I believe there's a couple others now too that have enacted. I don't know the other counties, but I know I heard a couple more, I believe. So we'll be on that. But so we wouldn't be the first if we were going to take this step, but I wanted to bring the information forward to everybody so we could at least have the discussion on where we would like to go with something like this, or if we would not like to follow it. So I'm open to, I don't think I have talked long enough, so anybody else has anything they'd like to say, please chip in.
I think that committee is really a positive force within our community. They have a lot of great ideas stemming from it. A lot of brilliant minds on it, and and like Adam said, the reason being is we want to try to curb the numbers downward. We've been on a steady path upwards for quite a while, especially this last month has really hit us hard. Yesterday we had 28 positive cases in Ramsey County with a positivity rate of 32%. So, all the mitigation efforts need really community support, community buy-in to it. to try to help keep businesses open, keep schools in session. Kids need to learn in class. And in order to do that, we need to keep not only the kids healthy, but the people that are teaching them healthy and the support staff surrounding them. Healthcare facilities, same thing. Making sure that the people that were working in those healthcare facilities can go out in the community and not catch a virus and then bring back into that facility and create an outbreak with the vulnerable population that's in those healthcare facilities. I did notice that the city of New Rockford issued a mask mandate.
Yes,
the
I
other
saw
day.
it as well.
And I think they're going to be popping up all over. Like Adam said, the standards template that is being used, if you go back to the back page, that letter B, enforcement of these regulations shall focus on educating the public on dangers of community spread and promoting best public health practices to achieve the goal of these regulations, mitigating the spread of COVID-19. So there's not a penalty or a fine or anything like that. And I think the committee coming up with that idea of being able to identify somebody readily that is unable to wear a mask due to some medical condition, I think is a great idea. They don't want to be isolated and confrontational and different things like that. And this virus has caused a lot of stress amongst people. But until there is an active working immune system,
Vaccine, antibodies.
antibodies, we need to do what we can to help slow the curve of this thing so we can keep our businesses, our community up and running and our kids in school. So.
Yeah, and I'll make mention too, you touched on the positivity rates. I looked at our numbers from yesterday as well. We're at the highest active positive we've ever had in the county at 128 positives right now. Our 14-day rolling average right now is 9.3%. If I could read it, it's kind of small, but it looked like it was 9.3, which is the highest we've ever had. I believe, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but CDC guidance right now is if you're at a 5% rolling average, you're supposed to be shutting down. So we're double that, and we're not slowing down. It's been slowly elevating. Speaking from experience at this point, I don't know who knows, I was positive, and it was no fun. I'm young, I'm relatively healthy, and you don't want to get it. I'm 20 days out and I still don't feel 75% healthy. So it's not a lot of fun. We need to slow it down. And the only way we're going to slow it down is by taking the steps, even if you don't want to wear a mask, which is, I understand the political nature of mask wearing at this point, but just the common sense approaches of social distance when you can, keep your circle small, wash hands, don't go places you don't have to at this point. And if we do that for at least a couple or 3 weeks or a month, it's going to start to drag it down. It's just going to take some time. And that's what we're going to have to shoot for. Okay. Anybody else have comments, questions,
I
thoughts?
think there's a lot of unknowns still within this virus. One of those new things that, there are research and suggestions on how to combat it, and things, have changed from the time that it first was discovered. But I think the greatest unknown is how it's going to affect each individual, because it seems to be affecting people differently. Some people get it, they don't have any outward symptoms, they don't get sick, they're asymptomatic, but they can still spread the virus. So that's a big community spreader right there. If you don't know that you have tested positive, there's those that get it and they don't have nothing more than mild symptoms. And then there's those that get severely ill and need hospitalization. And unfortunately, there's individuals that do not recover and pass away from this. we need to do what we can to protect our community, protect the health of our residents, and, you know, keep businesses and schools continuing to be viable.
I got one question for Carrie. I listened to the radio the other night on KFYR Bismarck, and the last city commission meeting that Bismarck had, the big argument was over the mandate, whether to use the word mandate. If you're gonna use the word mandate, then you have to have a penalty behind it. Is that correct?
I think it's just a perspective on words, Ed. Some people
Okay.
are calling it a mandate, some people are calling it a resolution,
Okay.
some people are calling it a policy approach. But there is no enforcement penalty that the county would be able to put into whatever it was called.
Okay. They had some commissioners on this radio show that night, and they said the meeting lasted between 5.5 and 6 hours on this issue.
Oh, wow.
I was just shocked. I mean, I don't have no problem with mandate or resolution, but should we call it what would you suggest?
A policy resolution,
Okay,
that's one way to look at it.
We could
A
call it,
mandate might imply to some people that there is an enforcement mechanism, so perhaps resolution or policy recommendation would be better.
okay. I think we should do that.
we could call it a resolution of support for mitigating.
Yeah, something like that's fine. I don't disagree with you. I mean, mandate does imply that there's some type of a
They
penalty.
really had it, I mean, it went on and on and on from what I understood.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah,
they act about it forever, and
Well,
Christ, you gotta have a penalty behind the mandate.
I've been sitting in, I guess I can mention that too, the governor's been having a weekly meeting with the mayors of the 14 largest cities and the county commission chairs of those counties that those cities sit in. And it's been quite interesting learning what's going on in each different community and how each community is handling it. The only, I wouldn't say hesitance, but Mayor Mahoney from Fargo said, you know, they've had a mask requirement since June, I believe, is when they put their what they called it a requirement. And he said, and it's anecdotal, he said, you know, we're not doing polls or anything, but he said, I went into different businesses and a week or two before the mandate that they put on in October, he said there was maybe 5 or 10% compliance in some of these businesses. He said following when we called it a mandate, 90+% compliance. Because then people get it in their head that this is important and that it's a mitigating strategy and it works, is the thought process behind it. I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent, but it was an interesting thing to hear that from the mayor there. There was, I think those are all public open meetings, so I'm not speaking out of turn, but there was quite a bit of frustration on the call this last week from different local leaders about the fact that we don't have a statewide strategy and we're going to have a bunch of different policies in every little community and county and city, and it's not all going to line up.
Well, yeah, I know the argument.
No, and I know the argument
I know what
too.
you're saying, but
I'm
I
just saying.
think if each community kind of has their own deal, because we want people to stay local.
Oh, yeah.
You know, don't move around too much, you know.
Well, and the thing is, I understand where the governor's coming from to a point, because not every community is getting hit with this the same. If you have a small community that's naturally socially distanced and you have good compliance regardless, you're probably having much better outcomes at this point. But the thing that Devil's Lake and Ramsey County as a whole, to a point, has, I shouldn't say going against it, it's a positive thing. We are a hub community.
You have a lot of people coming in.
Everybody from Nelson County and Benson County and Towner County, when they have to do large shopping or things like that, they come into Devil's Lake. And that's a good thing, because it drives our community and we derive things from it. It's a fantastic thing.
Absolutely.
But you get more people mingling that wouldn't be mingling otherwise. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But at this point, I mean, the calls, all I will say, has been interesting, and we're going to have a call again today, I believe, at 11 o'clock. So it's just been interesting to see how each community has been handling it. One of the other things, and I forgot to ask Andy or Carrie about this previous to the meeting, do all of our liquor licenses outside in the county, are they all on sale and off sale?
That I can't answer who's all on or off.
Because one of the things that was brought up, that it's like Grand Oaks, other cities have done it, but Dickinson specifically put it back in, was the ability to sell food if you only had an on-sale license. And then, I can't remember exactly how it worked, but essentially to allow for people to take a mixed drink in a vehicle or whatever off of that license. And I don't know the particulars of it, but I just thought that was an interesting approach, so they can continue to allow businesses to, you know, sell curbside essentially, so that people don't have to sit in the building when they're, you know, want to have a beverage, they can take it home with them. Yeah, and I think most of ours in the county are probably off and on together, so that's probably not an issue, but I just thought that was an interesting approach, because some of these cities have a lot of restaurants that just have on-sale permits. So they're allowing essentially, as long as it's a container, you could say, oh, I want to get a Long Island iced tea, they'll put it in there and you can take it home with you. So that's helping that curbside and additional sales and things like that. Anything we could do to try to help keep our local businesses viable at this point is the most, and keeping our kids in school are the two most important things. Because, I mean, you watch the curves and they're just eerily reminiscent of that nationwide, up and dipping, and we're on the third way up now. And it's
Well, let's put this in place and have Carrie put the wording in there, you know, policy change, whatever we want to put it. But I don't think we should do mandate. I think the mandate gotta have a penalty. You know, because people, the first thing they ask you, well, what's your penalty? Well, there is no penalty. I'm using the words from Bismarck.
And that's not unreasonable. I mean, you know, what you call something doesn't matter.
Yeah, we need everybody's cooperation. You know, go out and martial law this, my God.
No, and that's not work. Yeah, and that's not the approach I want either. I think the most important thing is that as leadership in the community from the county perspective is that we're saying, we think this is important, we think it helps. I mean, we know it's not the silver bullet, but anything we can do to try to mitigate is a positive. And we don't want to, I don't want to come down on people. That's not how this has to work. It's just a matter of just reminding people and saying, hey, let's try to get this under control.
Hopefully we're not too far from a vaccine.
Hopefully, that's the thing. I mean, we're all kind of playing the long game, hoping that comes around sometime early next year or someplace in that time frame. I mean, and that's what we're hoping for. Until then, we just have to try to keep it under control so that we don't swamp our hospitals and we can keep operating.
We'll make the motion that Ramsey County adopt a mask policy.
Okay.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. What do we want to officially call it?
Where did we talk about?
Well, I don't know.
I like what Jeff was saying, a resolution in support of
Why does that matter?
mitigating,
mask usage for mitigation of COVID-19 or something like that.
The policy of mask usage for mitigation of COVID.
face coverings.
Yeah, face coverings, good, that's fine, yeah, because mask is technical, isn't it? I don't know what the technical term is, but they have it laid out what you can use, which, I mean, it's pretty much just saying, wear a mask, wear a bandana if you can't wear a mask. Just something to try to keep your breath to yourself. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and Carrie has been listening, so she can make those changes accordingly. Once we get done with this, we'll put it out to the public. When would we like it to be enacted? You know, we do need time frame for enactment as well.
How about Monday, November 9th?
So on Monday? Okay, that's fine. Make the motion second, that okay? Give everybody time to get used to it. Okay, so we'll say Monday, November 9th, 8 a.m. Will be enactment of the policy if passed. Trying to think if there's anything else we need in there. I think that's probably everything. Further discussion on the motion as it stands. Okay, hearing none, we will vote. Roll call, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Olson,
Nay.
Wakefield,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Lightfoot.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay,
Adam, one question. Can you go over the 10-day quarantine? What was it, 10-day quarantine?
What I've been told from, so in my situation, or in anybody's situation, when that person tests positive and they actually have it, then it's 10 days of isolation, not quarantine, isolation from the start of symptoms to when you can come out of isolation. Because those 10 days are when you can, the theory, the science behind it is that's when you can pass it on. So those 10 days from the start of symptoms to then is when you have to isolate from everybody. So like in my house, everybody else, I had to sit in the bedroom by myself for 6 days. Between that and my office. But so you isolate for those 10 days, but then the quarantining, this is where it becomes an issue, is the latency of the virus is 14 days. So if you were a close contact to somebody that tested positive, you have to quarantine 14 days from your last close contact with that individual. And the close contact is defined as under 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. So basically anybody in your household is going to have to quarantine for 14 days from that last contact when you went into isolation. So for instance, I don't want to hear it, but I've got what I'm talking about. I got, my symptoms started the 17th. I tested positive the 23rd. I was out of quarantine on the 27th, 28th. My family is still quarantined. So Kelly hasn't been to work in 2.5 weeks because of this. But they get out, they get to go back to school and work tomorrow, so they're super excited. But that's where the problem comes in, is if you get close contact, then you got to quarantine. Then you run into close contact again, then you got to quarantine. And the importance of the mask usage and the social distancing is, if we make sure we stay apart from each other, 6 feet, and we wear our mask, you're not in close contact at that point because you did what you were supposed to do, and all of a sudden we can keep things operating. That's the goal.
And I think the governor has put that in place, is that if both people are wearing a mask and one tests positive, the other does not have to quarantine for 14 days. And I think a big reason he did that behind that was to keep kids in school. So if there's one child in school that all of a sudden tests positive, the whole classroom doesn't have to leave, because ideally the whole class is wearing their mask.
Yeah, they're doing what they're supposed to. They have social distancing in all the classrooms, and they're doing, I mean, our school systems have made, I mean, and not just our school systems, but especially them, have made unbelievable attempts to make sure that we keep kids in school. And it's valiant. We try to, I mean, nothing but praise for trying to keep our kids in school. So all we can do is try our best, and hopefully we can start to see a downtrend. But we had a nice week of weather, but winter is coming. We're all going to be inside for the next 6 months or whatever the heck it's going to be. So it's going to be, if we don't work hard to push it down, it's not going to be a lot of fun. So, all right, very good. Thank you. On next to, back to Carrie again. Do we have anything on the nuisance property issue?
No, I am still waiting for Tom Trainer to get back to me. I will tell you that the health department did go out and check that area of concern with a hole, and the hole was closed over. That's about all I know for that end.
Okay. Carrie, Candy was telling me we didn't finish the motion on the last motion we did. I thought we all voted and I said it passed. Yeah, I thought so. I might be losing my mind, it's quite possible.
Now we have to vote.
Yeah.
I know we voted and we did roll call, and that was it, here we stopped.
Motion passed.
Yeah, the motion passed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping, sorry. Sorry.
Candy told me she was checked out today, and I told her that's okay, just as long as you can take notes,
I'm
we'll
on
be fine.
surplus.
And it's like, you've been working like crazy for the last a long time, so it's okay if you're a little slow on this, it's fine. Okay, so nothing on the nuisance property issue, we'll keep that on unfinished business to move forward then. Okay, new business in our packets, we had the state audit. So we need to approve the audit. We have it in our packets. Pardon me? We got it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was gonna say, I read it a long time ago and it looked good, so. Okay, discussion on what we'd like to do with the audit. Or questions on the audit is probably the better term.
All right, Candy? We're good.
Look good?
Need a motion?
Motion to Second.
I like how everybody always jumps on the second. It's impressive.
We like to read our name and
Good call. We have a motion and a second to approve the 2019 state audit of the county. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Copy release. You got documents in our packets about the copiers, and it appeared, if I understood it right, it looked like the company we're going with now had a better bid, correct?
You got zero bid.
No, he has it all in there. Yeah, I wish it was zero, but
And that, the bid on the one was based off of X amount of copies per month, and the other one was based more off of the amount of copies we've been using, correct?
this is actual copies.
Okay, yeah, because I was looking at it, trying to make sure I had an understanding of what I was looking at. So the one they're from Jamestown, correct? And that's who we've been dealing with, and that bid is what we did.
Kevin, you got one out there too?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's with him switching to color. Yeah.
We've got three tiny ones, little ones that are colors, so we're gonna do that.
That one, he'll get one.
And we have, what, 6 copiers it said on the list? Okay,
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the copy release from Central Business Systems out of Jamestown.
okay. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the low bid, copy release for Central Business Systems. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Very good. Visitors and delegations. Anybody from the crowd want to say anything? Here for anything important? Okay.
One more thing I should mention is we are inspecting all of our bridges right now. Same outfit that did our diving got the bid for this region. So they're out there inspecting us now, and they found one that we need to close. We found it yesterday, so we're closing it today. It's by Ned Schneider's. There isn't even a road to the north of it. It's a very seldom used bridge. We did have to close that to this one.
How big a bridge is it?
It's a big, it's over 20 feet, one of those, so it has to be inspected now. And it was on the docket to be taken out next summer. We're just trying to get the, down with this, what do you call it? This,
Stream crossing?
Stream crossing standards on it now, so.
Okay. So we had a plan to get it taken care of, but that was gonna be my question is, I mean, don't the farmers use it, get across, anything
I
like
don't
that?
think the farmers, I don't think anybody, maybe the deer hunters, that'd be about it. But we'll close it.
What township's it in, Kevin?
Cato, Harding. Yeah. Ned Schneider, do you know where the Schneider farm is?
It's right off the west side of County 3, probably 8 miles north of my place.
Alden, Thorson.
Yeah, right next to Thorson.
West of there a little way.
Okay, well, as long as it's good, we have, we're planning to replace it anyway, so.
They
Can't go down.
don't, they don't need the bridge?
Good question, we'll probably talk about that with the water board, but I don't think, other than deer hunters, I don't think it ever gets used. Because it's completely farmed over to the north and a big high grass growing on to the south.
Is it on a section lane?
It is on a section.
That's where you might run into a problem. If we don't reinsert something over the section line for passage, then we'd have to probably look at closing the section line in order to not have to put anything in it, just open it.
And I think about,
Which might be an option.
think about the future then also, if somebody else buys the land, they may want to.
Dance around that section line.
Yeah, it's always.
Put it, you put it right there.
Oh, yeah, I have no problem with that, that's a big place.
Okay, well, very good. Okay, report on portfolios, we'll start with Commissioner Whitfield.
I wish I had anything real to report.
Sorry, do you have something else?
Did you have anything you wanted to know?
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Nothing to report?
Not a whole lot, no. We're still chugging along.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
We had a suicide at the jail. The state boys, Worlinger and Anderson were up and looked on Monday, and everything was followed correctly. So, bad deal. They were up, checked it out on Monday. Everything we did was right, I guess. I haven't talked to Rob about it, but I was told.
Yeah.
And other than that, social services, we haven't met for, that's it, I guess.
Okay. Commissioner Wilson?
I can actually add to Ed's deal a little bit. I've talked to Rob and I've talked to Dan. The state was very impressed with the way our people handled it there. They were ahead of the curve, so to speak. When they got there, when they hit the ground, they were running. Everything was in order, so we are 100% in compliance. Other than a few little paper checks that, you know, needed to get done, we were spot on. And I just wanted to say that I'm very proud of our people out there from coming from as far down as we were to where we are today. I mean, they did a good job. Everything was done correctly, properly, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to add that. Portfolio, Sheriff's Department. Steve has been ordering all the stuff that we gave him the permission to order here a while back. Other than that, everything else seems to be running along pretty good.
He's gonna be busy in December hiring, I suppose.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really busy.
That's the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the jail perspective, you know, sometimes, even if you do everything right, bad things can still happen. So, yeah, and I'll reiterate, I guess I can, not piggyback this too, but when we did the meeting out there, we went through the facility, I mean, they've done a really nice job, and it's, you know, the upgrades we've made have been worthwhile, but it's just, sometimes that's what that. Okay, Mr. Fifth.
Carrie, you want to go through some of the issues up in your office that you've been experiencing? Well, staffing, COVID, courts.
We're still working. We're doing 2 in-office, 2 telecommuting, and then we're alternating weeks, which is a good thing because we've had a lot of various situations where there's been close contacts with, not necessarily close contacts for the purposes of quarantine, but we've had a lot of close calls with various witnesses that come into the courtroom. Court systems actively better with the mask policy, the distance. There's cleaning items in the courtroom, so when we're done at the tables, we just clean up and then head out. We had a lull in numbers while we were shut down over in March, case numbers, but I would report that we're pretty close to the normal again. So things aren't quieting down out in my neck of the woods anyways, work-wise. Other than that, I think things are going well. Steve has been really instrumental in allowing us to do the VPN telecommuting so that we can avoid shutting down and avoid any kind of lack of services from our end.
Thank you.
Yep.
Extension, we heard from Sarah. I know they've been busy up there and they're working great guns to try to fill slots for that extension roundup and getting that agenda out. Airport Authority, we continue to meet on a monthly basis. Numbers continue to be down about 40% every month for boardings. They did pick up, from that April-May time period where we had, I think, 17 one month. But we were really kind of, before the pandemic hit, we were really looking to hit the next level of boardings, which would have meant a bigger funding increase for the airport, but we'll have to try to get back on track when everything passes. But and Chamber had their annual meeting, I think it was 23rd, 24th of October. They did that virtually, handed out the Chamber Member of the Year, and passed gavels to a new president. Gail Strummy will be the president of the Chamber Executive Board. Yeah. COVID's throwing a monkey wrench in a little bit of everything, and hopefully we can all get through unscathed and keep our county operating as efficiently as possible.
Yeah. Excuse me, from my perspective, Chris, you got anything you want to say? Any emergency managers that you're watching? Nothing too crazy?
Nothing too personal,
Okay.
Chris did find some money for safety jackets for our.
Yeah, I saw that, he showed me that the other day, that was a good deal. Got new safety jackets for the highway crew. Living the hell out of it. Where is it? Yeah. From my perspective, North Central Housing Authority, unfortunately, our executive director resigned, taking a new job. So we are in the process, we named an interim director, so we have continuity of workflow and everything's still working fine. And we're going through the process to get the job description together and all that fun stuff. So we're going to be, I'm chairing that committee now, so it's going to be all kinds of fun trying to get somebody new hired. So that's going to be something in the future we're going to be working on. Social services, I was able to sit in on a call with the state, going over our zone plan for approval. Everything looks like it's going fine zone plan wise. We approved a lot of different stuff at our last meeting, zone plan specific when it came to if for some reason the zone was to dissolve, where the vehicles would go, where the dollars would go, that kind of stuff. We got all that approved. So the state's ready to get all that done so we can get our plan in the state. It sounded like they were happy with the plan. Candy's perspective, election's done, so it'll calm down a little bit, which is good. Nothing else from there, I don't think. Forward Devil's Lake, we canceled our last meeting. We'll meet again next week or the week after, I can't remember what. The only other thing I had too is just to mention to everyone, and I don't know if you've seen it, the state approved additional CARES Act dollars to pay for law enforcement costs. So we are being paid for law enforcement through the end of the year. So this is just through October, correct? Yeah, through October.
Yeah.
So in addition to we had 250 something before, through October it's an additional 169, and then it's probably going to be 55 to 60,000 a month for November, December as well. So another 110. So I think it's going to be probably $500,000 to $600,000 when it's all done. So and I gave an interview to Eric on it and talked about it. Just reiterating that those dollars are going to be really helpful when it comes to paying for the siren project. We can probably bank some of those dollars and save it when we have to levy next year for highway or something like that, so we can pass those savings on now that we're going to have those dollars again. But they're going to be helpful to pay for some of those projects that we weren't sure how we were going to find money to do it other than taking it out of local property tax, so it's going to be a helpful thing. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. That's all I have. Any announcements?
Deer hunt's this Friday.
Deer hunt's this Friday, there you go.
I guess I'd like to just iterate your comments, Adam. Thank you, Candy and Adam, for Nathan and Jackie and the rest of her workers for the extraordinary work that they did above and beyond for the election.
Did very well.
They did very well. There's no complaints. Everything operated smoothly. They put in a lot of extra time on that, so should be commended for that. Thank you.
We're going beyond in a tough time.
Yeah.
And Candy's glad she's not in Pennsylvania or Arizona right now.
Jesus, we should probably send her over there to help.
Get you a plane ticket, we'll send you
Yeah.
to Arizona.
You go to Arizona.
Well, yeah.
Mark out there.
Yeah, just deliver it to my lawn chair. We'll be all
They'll
right.
probably still be voting.
You get a counting balance next to the pool.
Yeah,
All right, very good.
yeah, the day went
good, voters were all really helpful. They did what they were supposed to do.
Everyone complied, you know, we did have like a small supply of masks, and when someone came in and didn't have one, they were politely asked if, you know, if they would just put one on, and everybody used the hand sanitizer dispensers that we went through like three containers for the day, but that's okay. Yeah. The new equipment, like that, it was kind of a slow start for everybody to get used to how everything went, but I don't know, I was so relaxed on Tuesday. It was just, I just felt weird because I usually just stressed out, but we were done by 8 o'clock.
I think it's a thank you too to the community, because everyone worked really well at making sure, and we did a lot of early vote, which was positive, which means that then that makes election day go far smoother when you've already got 80% of the vote sitting on the tables at 7 a.m. in the morning. So that's always helpful too, that people avail themselves of the abilities to do that.
And a big thank you to those people that last week before election, when numbers just kept going and kept going and kept going, and I'm like, there's no way that vote by mail is going to be able to get through 4,000 ballots in a day. So I reached out to one person, and she found me. Kevin filled in because we were short with one person, and he hung out for the day. And
You got the dump votes too, huh?
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, no, Henry, you had the opportunity to come vote, and man, it was like clockwork, it was amazing.
because I think you guys were done by like 4:30.
On the vote by mail side.
Yeah. Well, I had 3 lines going, and they were all doing the same thing, but we'd split the alphabet up,
Yeah.
and yeah.
That's like 4,000 ballots in like 8 hours. That's really good.
It's,
Impressive. And that's opening and checking and doing everything. That's good work.
and I think out of everything that we brought over, there's only 4. Yes, 4 ballots that I have to bring to canvassing for signatures don't match.
That is the one nice thing about North Dakota. We've done vote by mail for so long that people are used to it, so our canvassing is usually really smooth because there's seldom a ballot that somebody made a mistake on or came in late. I think when we canvassed in June, there was probably 8 or something. I mean, it makes it obviously very simple, and everybody is so used to the system.
And we had a lot, even before election day, where we made contact with those people either by, if they put a phone number, or some of the early voting, like the people came in, they didn't sign their ballot, put it in the drop box. Well, they didn't put a phone number, so we, went to Facebook and, oh yeah, I remember, sent them a message.
Tracking
And,
people down.
everybody came back and signed, so that's,
Above and beyond, I tell you
yeah,
what.
it's crazy. It's definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Definitely one for the books. It was,
Well, it's good. It's good to have the technology and everything work really well too, since it was our first election.
I'm so impressed with those poll books that yeah.
Good deal. Okay, anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, we are adjourned.